Okay, so hear me out. This is just gonna change your perspective on veganism, especially if you are a vegan, right? So obviously there's the moral side, which people argue. That's what I'm gonna go more in depth into, and then there's the biological side, which I mean it's pretty obvious. Veganism isn't designed for us, but that's for another whole subject, right? So I mean, if you actually care about your own life, you'd watch this, especially if you're a vegan instead of just. I mean, most of you probably left by now, but pretty much I'll go over the moral side of things. So I have notes right here just to make shit more concise, but pretty much we know plants are alive, right? It has memory, emotions, sensing and orientation, communication, defense, and threat recognition, right? I mean, if you don't call that alive or conscious, then what the hell, what is consciousness, right? What is being alive? Just because we can't perceive the emotions or the reactions, with our senses that plants give off, doesn't mean it's not alive, right? And it doesn't mean you can kill it over something else, right? Especially since veganism, they say all life is equal, but then they choose to kill one over the other, right? It makes no sense. I mean, obviously our senses and just the way we perceive things are limited. I think it's like 0.0035% of reality is what we can see. So again, you can't base everything off little judgment, especially since science and just things in general evolve over time. For example, sentience might exist on a spectrum and our tools may only detect the forms that look like us, right? I mean, that's proven throughout history. For example, for most of histories, humans literally thought animals were automata, so more of like a biological machine. So a reaction was seen as mechanical reactions until the nervous systems were mapped out, right? People literally until the 1980s thought babies didn't feel pain. That's why infants were operated from the 1980s without anesthesia, right? Until stress hormones were measured. So again, as we improve in terms of machinery, just evolution, you start to see it, right? But logically speaking, plants are clearly alive, right? You can't deny that. And and even in history, other humans were seen as less conscious, right? For example, the era of slavery, colonized people. You could say the suppression of women, right? Those beliefs completely collapsed as the measurement tools improved, right? That's undeniable. So plants may possess a form of proto-sentience, right? Or a non-neural awareness that we don't know yet or how to perceive. This exact way of thinking is literally how every scientific major paradigm shift began, right? The uncomfortable truth that most people avoid is that life eats life. That's undeniable again, so you can't just be blind to that or delusional. Plants consume minerals, fungi, bacteria. Animals consume plants and literally other animals. And then humans literally in both category, right? Literally everything. It's clear that plants are not inert, they are not just objects. They exhibit intelligence, awareness, memory, communication, and defense. Clearly alive. Now, me personally, I'd argue you're more of a coward for choosing to attack a species that's incapable of expressing themselves, right? Especially when vegans go around shouting all life is equal, while their behavior clearly contradicts that. For example, in regards to the plants, this whole topic, that alone would be immoral just to kill them. So at this point, you might as well be a breatharian, right? Farming being immoral, especially with all this, it literally kills billions of insects and rodents, stuff like that. And even existence itself would be immoral. So the whole concept, the whole movement, the whole fundamental perception of life is just completely flawed, right? So now this is just going on the morality side of things, right? Now if you go more on the biological side, then it'll give the bigger picture, because obviously if in a theoretical world, if plants gave you the same shit animals gave you, or if it was better, then I'd agree there'd be no need to kill animals, right? I mean, what's the point? There's literally zero need. Yeah, but pretty much we live in a world where it's required to eat animals, right? Just evolution itself proves it. I mean, if you believe in that theory, I don't, but I'm just using it just as a stance, right? If you just believe in evolution, right? So we were evolved, we were hunter-gatherers most of our time, dominantly literally animal-based, right? The fact that we can't digest fiber, amongst many things, and animals that do digest fiber, literally digest that into saturated fat, which is what we get from animals. So, yeah, so you can see they have the digestion for it, right? Especially vegans, they talk about teeth as if it means anything, bro. Or like, what are you talking about? That's like saying, look at a gorilla's teeth. It's designed to kill, right? But they're not carnivores. So the teeth is irrelevant, because you're completely disregarding that we literally have intelligence above all species, right? So we have the ability to craft and just create, right? So we have no necessary need for teeth to evolve to be like lions, though we have canines. But yeah, that's for a different topic. Like I said, there's actually many points to why veganism is bullshit. As for the plants being alive, there's actually experiments proving it, right? For example, if you attack a plant where they measure it using frequency, if you attack a plant, right, the frequency just starts shattering, right? As if they're in pain, in a sense, right? You could say that. And then if that same person leaves the room, the plant calms down. And as soon as that same person steps into the room, the plant spikes up. It has memory, it has recognition, it's literally conscious. It sees the person, recognizes danger, and then it panics. You know, so I mean, there's many experiments to prove it's alive. The fact they can communicate with each other also is another thing, right? They can literally between plants communicate. So you could say, to play like the stupid devil's advocate of vegans, they have a family, right? So because you know how these vegans compare literally a baby cow to a baby human. Like, are you stupid? It makes no sense. Though you can argue there's no need to kill baby cows, rather just kill the older ones. But that's a whole different topic, especially considering, you know, that the older ones have more nutrients. So I mean, yeah, the fact that plants move towards the sun shows something, right? Just that alone, or even the fact where you show love in the form of singing or words, literally makes them grow faster, right? On top of evolving over time to have defense chemicals as a way to survive and deter predators. I mean, no one in the right mind would say it's not alive, right? I mean, it's clear and proven that it's alive. So the whole morality side of things in that movement, you can just disregard, throw out the window. And now we move on to the biological side, which is a whole different topic. I forgot to mention literally the physical world we live in, what we call life, lives in the concept of one thing has to be killed for another thing to live, right? One thing has to die for another to live. Simple as that. That applies to every single factor in life. The mental, physical, and the spiritual, right? Physical, obviously, just like this whole topic of the video. Mental is you have to kill your old self, then you want to come, to arise, the better you. Or you have to kill your old thoughts and replace with the new ones, right? So that way you can actually grow and evolve. Same applies to your actions, stuff like that. And then this also jumps onto intertwines with also the spiritual realm, right? Something has to die for another to live. So that's literally the whole concept of life. For you to deny that is delusional and will only hinder your growth, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it.